I'm going to talk about two things in my speech. First, how welfare should be or what should be included inside welfare. Second of all, I'd like to compare the harms and benefits coming from both sides of the house. So first, how welfare should be. From government, we heard that we should protect the basic minimum of living of individuals. But the question is, what is that basic line, or what is that minimum of living, right? We never really heard a clear definition of what should be included in that from government side. But what we said is that we talked about how not just like physical well-being is important, but also psychological or cultural well-being is extremely important for individuals to be able to live a dignified life. But then God said, but we need these things for survival, like materialistic things are extremely important for survival. But recognize what we've been saying is you could literally eat natto and rice every single day, 3 times a day, and you will still survive. But you're not living you're not having a dignified life, or you're not living as a decent human being. Because it's not just about having materialistic things inside your life, right? Not just being able to live physically is not always leading to your decent life, right? We talked about how there are many things that individuals want to prioritize, and that makes them feel like a human being, and that makes them feel dignified, right? It could be the family tradition to eat expensive like Kobe-gyu once a year, and that is something that is extremely important to them. Or it could be like just going on to a travel with your parents is important. Donating to your church is something that makes you feel like a real person. Or like drinking once a week or going out with your friends, right? I think all these things are extremely important for you to, maybe you don't need that to survive, but it's extremely important for you to be able to live a decent life. And we think that is included in the basic minimum of individuals to survive, because without that, they're not living like a human being, right? Because we didn't, and we talked how that's most in how you could achieve that how you could achieve that best in opposite side, because you give them the cash and you give them the autonomy to decide what they're going to use it for. So a little like the practical things about the harms and benefits. What did we hear from government side? What we heard is that there are things that if you allow these individuals to use cash, then there will be life-threatening things. And states have the role to protect people and paternalistically decide for these individuals. What did we hear from them? First, we heard about children, how they're going to be extremely suffer. We talked about how this is quite irrelevant. You could tackle that with child abuse. It's not necessarily unique to this motion either. Second of all, they talked about ethics, right? First of all, we talked about how there's an overgeneralization. Not all people with welfare are like that. But second of all, we talked about how it's rather better on our side of the house, because they are told by the state that because many people, they don't have that kind of self-responsibility, or they don't feel that they're important. On our side of the house, as the state is actively sending a message that we are fully trusting you, and we actually give them the chance to use that money, right? Even if they feel once or twice a month, then they'll go, okay, if I use that much for the gambling, then I'm going to really be hungry at the last part of the month, right? Whereas our side of the house actually gives the incentive for these individuals to actually change their lifestyle, right? But even if things don't change, it's not going to necessarily change on Gov sides, right? Because these people could always sell their food stamps or whatnot. Gov said that small amount of money. The problem is there's always loopholes, and it's not necessarily Gov side that's actually solving that. But if you look at the holistic way, we think that even if there are some addicts, even if there are some cases of child abuse, we think that's not necessarily a reason to to propose this motion, right? Because in any kind of system, there are going to be some bad people who abuse the system, but that's not a reason to take away the rights of other people, simply because that other people are not necessarily responsible for that, but they also have inalienable rights to actually have access to a well-being, and we think that welfare should be included inside that. In addition, we talked about how we talked about how minorities are especially going to be harmed by this, because simply the government cannot adjust to every single person's needs, dividing food stamps for every single food, or what kind of cultural necessities they need. It's simply practical and impossible, and we don't have enough money to do that. So we think it's extremely difficult to actually cater to the needs. We think cash is the best way to enable these people to have a dignified life. For these reasons, we're very happy